Let's talk about your $500 per hour value for your firm. Imagine you had exactly the insights, the processes, the systems to be able to consistently earn $500 per hour. This is Lauren Fogelman with Business Success Solution. And I was able to get inspired for this topic by looking at some street performance and watching their entire act from start to finish. They easily earned $500 per hour. And if they can do it, you can do it too. And I'm going to just show you exactly what that system was and how this applies to you and your firm. But this is what I witnessed in action. First of all, they figured out how to gather a crowd. And then they knew exactly how to engage the audience, not just to get them to stop, but to stick around and watch the entire act from start to finish. They consistently educated about the value of what they were offering, what they were doing. And at the end, they knew exactly how to be able to wrap things up and get paid. So that's part of the things I want to talk about. But the other part of it is that there were three things that were purposeful. One is they had to figure out how to gather a crowd. How do they attract the right people to want to stop and pay attention? The second thing is, okay, they got people to stop. Once again, how to keep them engaged from beginning all the way through to the end, because this wasn't a 5-minute performance. It was probably more like 20 minutes to a half hour or so. And then, of course, the main thing for everything else is the collection of money for them, because if they don't collect money, they're not getting paid. And that is true for everybody. This is their business. This is how they earn a living. This is maybe their side hustle for some of them. And that's true for you too. And I want to be able to now go into how this applies to you as firm owners. Basically, they perform what's called the VCP model. VCP, visibility, credibility equals profitability. So once again, visibility and credibility leads to profitability. Three things. And I'm going to go ahead and now break it down for you so that you can really understand what they did. And then I'm going to show you how this applies to your firm too. The very first thing they did is they grabbed attention. They had uniforms. They had loud music. They had the speakers. Easy to grab attention as people were walking up and down the promenade. And then the next thing was their personality. There was a lot of playful engagement with the audience. They weren't like here and everybody else was there. They really were able to engage the audience and keep it lively. The third thing was, once again, how they were able to take just the engagement, but now draw people into the act from the audience. And I don't think that anybody was a plant. I think they actually took real people that were observing and brought them into the act. So how does this apply to your firm? Well, think about the way that people first find out about you. Does your messaging or does your marketing, whether it is social media, your website, your pro-advisor profile, when you're introducing yourself at networking events, do you actually know how to grab attention and stand out with the right people? The other thing is when people are first finding out about you, whether it's in person or virtually, where they're actually seeing something that represents you, but not actually meeting you and having a conversation yet, do they get a sense of your personality, how you show up, if they feel that there's maybe some synergy there and a connection? And then the third part is, how approachable are you? Are you someone where they can start to learn about you, see your personality, and feel that they can reach out to you with a question? Or are you very distant and hands-off? So that's the visibility part, is how are you grabbing attention? Do you stand out as opposed to blending in? And do people get a sense of who you are? Now, the second part of this particular performance group that applies to you is the credibility part. They were able to actually create rapport and gain trust with the crowd. The way that they did it was brilliant. So the MC went ahead and educated the audience, the observers, about what to expect next. That was the very first thing. There was some education about what's coming up next. It was a little bit of a tease. It got your curiosity. You wanted to stick around and know more and see how that worked. And then the performers they followed through with that part of the routine. Therefore, that started to develop trust. The MC explained what was going on next, and then the performers followed through. Seems obvious, but it doesn't always happen. And when it doesn't happen, you actually lose some of that credibility if there's not follow through or continuity. And then the third thing is that the MC name drops celebrities or places that were well known where they had previously performed. So that is something to think about. Now, okay, that was the act. How does this apply to your firm? Well, education. Do you actually educate people who are interested in your services about the problem that they might have and how you can offer solutions, or what's something to think about that they might not have thought about before, or possibly put a different spin on things, just like I'm doing here by giving you an example of a street performance and how this applies to your firm. So something to think about is, how do you educate people about what you do and how you might be able to help them? The next thing is consistency. You want to be out there on a regular basis. You want to be able to not only tell them what you're going to do, but follow through and do it. And the third way that you build credibility, gain trust, is by testimonials, where somebody else is talking about you and what it was like to work with your firm and the results that they experienced. That's the second part. So we first did visibility. Now we did number 2, which is credibility. And then we're going to go on to the third part, act number 3, which is profitability. Okay. This was the most fascinating part. So stick with me for just a couple more minutes as I give you this. The MC knew that once the act was over, people would leave, right? Because they're going to come around and ask for money. And what they did is they actually built up the grand finale, and then they took a break. That's when they asked for donations and went through the audience to get donations. Was right before the grand finale, where all this momentum was building up. And then they took a pause. They got them, they asked for donations before they went to the final act. So one of the things to think about is that the MC actually explained the value of their performance. He was able to give them some educational insight about the value of what they were doing. The other thing is they knew how to close the sale. They went through the audience with their donation bags. That is something to think about. Everybody there that was on that team was an important player and had a specific role. The next thing that they did was acknowledge. They were able to first educate the group that a good donation was $20. So he educated them. He raised the bar because he first gave value about what a good donation was. And then every time that somebody donated $20 or more, everybody stopped, there was acknowledgement, there was applause and cheers. And I know that during that performance, they received at least $100 donation. And like I said, I don't think that this person was a plant. Okay, that's what this group of street performers did. How does this apply to your firm? Well, it's a system. Systems give you freedom. The more you're able to have a system that works, the more likely you're going to achieve the results that you want. So you create a system that right from the very beginning, however they find you, adds value, whether it's in person or it is being done passively by going to your advisor profile, by going to your website, seeing a posting on social media. But right from the beginning, it is all about the value to the client. And then the next thing, as you're drawing them in, you educate them about the next step you want them to take, to be able to reach out to you, to be able to find more. What would that next step be? Eventually, the next step or to have a consult with you, or how to get started. And when you're in that part of it, you want to be able to ask for the sale. You don't want to just lead them all the way. And then the final act, which is asking for the sale, never happens. So we want to ask for the sale. And then you want to be able to enroll that client into your firm so that is completing the transaction. And finally, just like everybody that donated $20 or more, you want to acknowledge their decision. They made a great decision to engage your services. So that is how this applies to you, is understanding visibility, credibility, and that leads to profitability. And I want to say, I have seen street performers all over the world. This was not the best act I have ever seen. They were above average, but they had a system. They knew how to create a connection with the audience. They educated about the value of their troupe and their performance. And also they were able to understand how to be able to bring in the money to be able to support them. I will let you know from what I saw as far as the donations and how many 20s they got, that 100, they easily were able to bring in over $500 an hour. And this was a mid-week performance, middle of the week, in the afternoon. So it was during business hours, and they were able to bring in over $500 for the hour. Now, imagine if they did this on a weekend with an even larger crowd. Maybe they bring in $1,000, but $500 is a good thing to aim for. Once again, the system. If you don't like the marketing, if you don't like the sales part, this is a step-by-step process that has clients eagerly wanting to know more and how to get started. And imagine for you, a consult where you potentially earn $500 per hour. That would be a nice thing to achieve. I know that when my clients do it the first time, they are so excited about the potential and what this has opened up for them. So if that interests you, then I invite you to join me for the Attract Quality Clients virtual retreat this week. It is this week. I have 2 spots remaining. You can get all the details at businesssuccesssolution.com/virtual on how to be able to have your $500 per hour start to finish, because everything you do is a system and it leads from value. Once again, please let me know how this resonated with you, what you took away. If you want your $500 per hour consults, then go ahead to businesssuccesssolution.com/virtual. Join me for the virtual retreat to attract quality clients to your firm. Lauren Fogelman, showing accounting professionals how to double their income, working half the time.